I have come to the Dina Veres Medicinal Herb Garden. It's so peaceful and serene here. Whenever I tell people, oh yeah, I'm going to Dina Veres, they're like, oh, where's that? Or what is that? And I'm so stumped because a lot of people don't know. But Dina Veres was a woman who, for years and years and years, was empowering us as Yudi Corso, people living on the island, to go back to our roots and our ancestral wisdom and to know what medicines are lying in our soil. And she's been doing that for such a long time. She has unfortunately passed, but her son is taking over the business and he is doing an amazing job selling teas, making shampoos and amazing other skincare products and medicinal herbs that are so powerful. And they also do tours in these gardens, and we're lucky enough to be able to use it on a free day to make the podcast today, and we're just so grateful to be here. Hi my douchies, welcome to the Alchemize podcast. My name is Destiny, I'm your host, and I use the internet as my personal journal where every entry is me talking about whatever I want. So if you like the vibes here, stick around and please enjoy. Today's topic is something that I noticed about myself that I recently wanted to change. Something that I have been paying attention to more and more now that I'm doing a lot of work trying to identify parts of myself that I can improve on. So I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the concept of the fear of being perceived, but with a bit of a twist. And what came to me was the humility to be perceived, because the fear speaks more on the ego side, but the humility is what you can do to help yourself actually overcome the ego and allow yourself to be perceived. For the longest time, I knew myself to be the type of person that didn't like it when anyone had anything to say to me about me. For example, when I was younger, I had to live at my grandparents' house. And living there, I remember trying to kind of pretend like I didn't exist. So if I went into the kitchen and I made a sandwich, I would try to clean everything up right away, go back to my room, eat my sandwich, wash my plate, put it back as if I was never there. So I wanted to kind of diminish my existence in order for people not to have anything to say to me. I think that goes back to when I was even younger, when I felt like I was too much and that people were annoyed by my presence. So I became smaller and smaller and smaller in order to eliminate the chance that someone could say anything negative about me. But of course, when you do that, you develop the fear of being seen. I think a lot of people can relate to that. But where it changed for me is where instead of just being afraid of being seen, I created an ego where I would think that no one had anything to say to me. So for example, something small. If I had to ask a question because I didn't understand something in class, I would prefer to not ask the question because I would feel like I was already supposed to know the answer. But if I couldn't figure it out, I still wouldn't go and ask because my ego would tell me that I'm already supposed to know this. And so if I go and ask, the person who should help me, like the teacher, would be annoyed, or they wouldn't want to help me because I'm asking a stupid question, I'm asking something dumb. And I noticed that as that behavior was ingrained more and more into me, I would do that in bigger and more high-stakes situations. I remember really enjoying blending in, not really standing out. I didn't want to do more than was necessary because I felt like if people noticed me, I would open myself up for criticism or to be judged or to be told that I can improve on something. And I used to take that as a real personal attack instead of seeing it as an opportunity to grow. And, you know, I'm in a part of my life where I really feel like I have big plans for myself. And those plans include being seen. Those plans include being out there and putting myself vulnerable and open on display, which means that people are going to perceive me and people are going to have something to say. The brighter you shine, the more of your flaws people can actually perceive. And they might tell you, for better or for worse, that these are some things that you can improve on. But if you're afraid of allowing them to tell you, or if your ego is too big to hold space for what others tell you you can improve on, then it's going to be really hard to grow. Because growing is about falling and standing back up, and growing and feeling the pain of a mistake that you make, but the triumph of getting up and doing it again and again and again until you can finally say that you've made it. That's all part of the process. And if you're not humble enough to accept that that's what it's going to take to reach the heights of your goals, then you're going to be stuck forever in one place. You know, it comes to a point where you're so afraid of trying harder, of doing your best, of being more out there, taking more risks, that you even allow yourself to miss out on beautiful opportunities. You're so afraid to exposing yourself to the constructive criticism that someone can give you, and so you don't allow yourself to be perceived. I had a lot of that going on in my life, and I can still feel it, because if I tried harder, if I tried to take more risks, if I tried to do better by putting myself more out there, I knew I would be open to more criticism or more vulnerability that someone can take advantage of, or, you know, something that someone could take in a way to make me feel smaller. But there was also beautiful opportunities that I was missing out on by not actually putting myself out there. And eventually I had this thought that stopped me right in my tracks. And it was that the way I was acting was as if I preferred mediocrity over constructive criticism, and that was scary. Because if I allowed myself to be mediocre because I was just afraid about hearing other people's opinions that might help me become better, I was going to reach a point in my life where I was going to regret a lot of things. So bringing it back to humility, when I opened my heart and listened to what others had to say, knowing that there was a lot of growth and a lot of answers that I might be seeking in anything that someone else could have told me, I started to grow and I started to skyrocket. And plans that I had in the back of my mind, dreams that I'd pushed down because I knew that I would have to reach further to get there, and I was afraid of actually going further, finally started to feel like concepts that I could bring into my reality. So yeah, being humble really helps. It's a beautiful way to make yourself open and feel like you can reach new heights. I remember it came to a point where I wouldn't want to ask questions because I felt like my ego was telling me that I should be smart enough to already know the answer. Even if it was something that I had no experience in, I still felt like I should have known better. And so if I asked, people would judge me for asking, which the more I think about it, I realize is such a mental lie that we tell ourselves. Our brain tries to protect us in so many ways by putting up these barriers and thoughts that turn us away from the place that we really want to go. And it's a protective mechanism, it's a survival skill that we've been conditioned to live with, but eventually it's going to stop us from reaching our full potential. I remember a few days ago, just to bring a small example that could show you the perspective that I'm coming from, I was watching a YouTube video about Alexis. I think I spoke about her a few times already on this podcast, but I love her so much. But she spoke about a time in the pandemic where she was trying to learn how to do splits, and her brain was literally signaling pain to her inner thigh, trying to keep her at a state that she's been at for years. She was always at a point where she could almost do the splits, but not completely because, you know, it would feel stiff or a little bit painful, and she couldn't get it done. And then when she told herself, hey, I've been training this for months, this shouldn't be an issue, I can do it, she just removed the block from her brain that was literally sending an actual pain signal to her muscles, telling her that she can't do it. And once she decided that she could, she literally did it. And I tried that a few days ago, and it was so interesting to see how I just spoke myself through the pain. I told myself, okay, I know that you're trying to protect me, brain. I know that this has been the way that you've kept me safe, but this doesn't hurt anymore. It's healed. I'm okay. I can handle this. And immediately the block was removed. It's very, very interesting how much our brain lies to us, but our intuition always knows that we are meant for way bigger things than what we are allowing ourselves to do. So I think the most important part is to dim our ego in order for us to step out and actually reach for the potential that we're meant to strive for. Also, to allow ourselves to feel maybe the uncomfortability of being told what we can improve on, how we can become better people, have the humility to take what others tell us and truly apply it into our lives, because that's the only way we're gonna grow. You know, the brighter you shine, the more other people can see your flaws. But when they tell you about your flaws, you can also see where you can improve, which will make you shine even brighter, which will make you go even further, which will make you grow way past the points that you were stuck at for a while. So I think apart from having developed the humility to be perceived, it's also important to realize that our thoughts are not just survival mechanisms that we can leave in the past once we've healed, but they don't represent us fully. What truly represents us is the feeling that we have within our bodies. If you ask yourself things like, am I capable? Is this something I truly want? Is this the right direction that I feel my life going into? Instead of answering these questions with our mind, with our thoughts, answer them with our body. Understanding what a true yes and what a true no feels like is the first step to reaching the point where you can truly trust yourself and know that you're able to reach the potential that you're aiming for. You know, growth will always be uncomfortable, and our mind will always try to keep us safe. Bless its heart. It'll always try to keep us safe. But being safe also means that we'll be stuck in a place of mediocrity. And at the end of our lives, when we look back at the beautiful movie that we called our existence for this short time being, we want to be able to say that it was a good one, and that we did everything without fear, that we went for all of our dreams and purposes. We didn't allow our brains to stop us. We didn't allow our thoughts to hold us back. It starts with practical steps that we take in order to actually calm our nervous system, to allow us to ascend to that level. I think the first step is definitely mindfulness. Just a few things that have been helping me: movement early in the day, journaling, praying. Another thing that I think is also very important is to realize you cannot grow without making mistakes. You cannot learn to walk without falling down several times. And so whenever we do fall, it's not an indication that we've failed or that we're never going to reach our goals. It's just a time for us to pivot and to think about how we can do better, because that's the only way that we can actually allow ourselves to get calm again. I think that's the whole package for today. Allow yourselves to be seen, allow yourselves to sparkle, allow yourselves to shine, because that's the way that we're going to reach new heights. Thank you so much for listening today. If you guys like this episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below about what exactly you're working on. All right, thank you guys all for listening today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, and bye, my douchies. Shang! That's my man.